Algebra 2 students, so today you'll have the chance to practice applying the properties of exponents that we learned yesterday. And those properties are that anything to the 0 power is always equal to 1. Anything to the 0 power is equal to 1. If you have a negative exponent, you take the reciprocal of the base, and you take it to the positive exponent. So if you have, let's say, 2 to the negative third, that's the same as 1/2 to the positive third power. If you're multiplying two numbers together with the same base, you keep the base, you add the powers. If you're multiplying, you add the powers. If you are dividing two numbers with the same base, you keep the base, you subtract the powers. And if you have the power of a power, keep that base and you multiply your powers together. So I'm going to work through some of the practice exercise. This is the 5.8 practice the odds, and then I'll be asking you to do the evens for your assignment here. So number 1, I am multiplying two numbers together. I focus on I'm multiplying, same base, so I'm going to keep the base, and I'm going to add the powers, so it'll be n to the 7th. Number 2, same property. I'm multiplying two numbers with the same base. Keep that base. Add the powers, which is t to the 1st. Don't really need the 1 there. I could just say that that's t. Number 5, this is actually the power of a product, but I'm going to teach this as just using power of power multiple times. Important that you realize that this number 2 in front, this is like 2 to the 1st, we also have to take that to the 6th power. So I would have 2 to the 1 times 6, which is 6, and I would have f to the 4 times 6, which is the 24th power. If I can do it mentally, I should, and 2 to the 6th, if you keep multiplying by 2, I believe you would get 64, and that would be f to the 24th power. Number 7, we are multiplying all this together. So the parentheses don't mean a whole lot here. So I'm going to take the 4 times the negative 5, which is a negative 20. I have d squared times d, which is d to the 1st. Keep the base, I add the powers, so that's d cubed. I have t to the 5th times t to the negative 3rd. Keep the base, add the powers, that's t squared. And I have v to the negative 4th times v to the negative 1, which would be v to the negative 5. It's not simplified unless I don't have any negative exponents, so I've got to change this. D cubed t squared. At v to the negative 5th, I'll move to the bottom. I'll make that exponent positive. Number 9, I'm dividing. So the numbers in front, I would just reduce. I know it's going to be negative. Take a 4 out of each of those, or 3 out of each of them, and I'd have 4 thirds. M to the 8th over m to the 1st would be m to the 7th. Y to the 6th over y to the 4th would be y squared. Number 11. I could simplify that top. I have negative 27. Actually, I have a negative 1 here, so that becomes a positive 27. And then I have x to the 10th. All over 16x to the 4th. Now I would reduce the 27/16, which I don't think I can. It'll stay the same. X to the 10th divided by x to the 4th would be x to the 6th. I could write it like this, which also means the same as just keeping that x to the 6th in the top. Number 13. First thing I'd want to focus on is right here, because I have a parenthesis to a power. That means I got to take everything to that power. So I'd have, this is like a negative 1 out here. I have 4w to the negative 3rd, z to the negative 5th. And then this would be 64, 8 squared, w squared. Now it's a multiplication problem. So I have a negative 1 times 4 times 64, which is a negative, I believe it's 256. And then I would have w to the negative 1, z to the negative 5. Can't leave it that way, so I'm going to have a negative 256 over, I'm just going to put w to the first, which is just w, z to the fifth, in the bottom of the problem. Number 15. I've got two sets here where I have a parenthesis, so I'm going to do power of power. I'm going to take everything in here to the fourth power. So I've got 3 halves to the fourth. I have d to the negative 8th. I have f to the 16th. I have a negative 4/3 to the third. I have d to the 15th. I have f to the third. All right. Now, I could write this as 3 to the 4th over 2 to the 4th. The d to the negative 8th and the d to the 15th would be d to the 7th. F to the 16th and f to the 3rd would be f to the 19th. And then I have a negative 4 to the 3rd and 3 to the 3rd in the bottom. All right, so I could multiply everything together, but I can also think of 3 to the 4th over 3 to the 3rd is like 3 to the 1st, which is 3. The negative 4 to the 3rd is a negative 64. The 2 to the 4th is 16. 16 then goes into 64 4 times. So I basically have 3 to the times negative 4, which is a negative 12. And then I've got my variables, which is still d to the 7th, f to the 19th. Number 17. I could simplify the top first. So if I multiply that, I'd have 15. I'd have x to the negative 1, because I'm adding negative 2 and 1. I'd have y to the negative 5th. On the bottom, power of power, so I have x to the negative 12th, y to the negative 2. And so now I've got 15. I'm going to take negative 1 minus a minus 12. I'm subtracting there. That would give me a positive 11. And then I'd have negative y to the negative 5 minus a minus 2, which would be negative 3. So I would rewrite this, putting that y to the 3rd in the bottom, getting rid of that negative exponent. Number 19. We're talking about this on page 6 in the study guide. First of all, these are polynomials. This first one here in parentheses has 2 terms. 2 means bi, so we'd call this a binomial plus another binomial. I'm adding, so I just combine like terms. The 3n squared and the 8n squared would be 11n squared. The 1 and the negative 8 would be negative 7. Number 21, I'm multiplying here. I'm going to distribute this w. So I'm going to have w cubed minus 2w squared t plus 4wt squared. And then I'm going to run the 2t through. So I have 2w squared t. Now I'm going to put this right here. I'm going to work vertically here. This is kind of a different way of doing this, because I'm going to combine those because those are like terms. And then I have a negative 4wt squared, which is similar to this one. Any of the variable parts exactly the same, they are like terms. And then I would have 8t cubed. So now I would combine these. These are going to cancel. These are going to cancel. And so I'm left with w to the 3rd minus or plus 8t cubed. So I hope this helps you today. You should be working on doing the even problems in that 5.8 practice 2 through 22. the evens. Have a wonderful rest of your day.